Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 227. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Dave Mason, the owner and the CEO of Tail of the Lion, a network of e-commerce stores focusing on home decor products. Dave spends much of his day writing novels, including The Size of Your Dreams, a novel that teaches readers many of his productivity techniques. Hello, Dave.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I know the clan is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your online business?
Absolutely. So I was actually an attorney. I was a litigator for the Natural Resources Defense Council, doing litigation about like endangered species, clean air, clean water issues. And I really enjoyed the work, and I felt very excited by it. I felt like we were doing amazing things in the world, but I was a single guy at the time, and I looked at the older people I was working with, and I saw what their lifestyles looked like, and I had a realization that I don't want that to become me. I don't want to be in a job where I'm working so many hours, where I don't get to see my family so much, where I don't get to have kind of other things I'm devoted to. So I had a 2-year fellowship with that job, and when I finished my 2-year fellowship, I decided not to remain in the law.
Wow. What is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur can have?
Most dangerous belief? That's a great question. I think one of them is that I would say I have to figure everything out. I've got to figure it all out myself. And I think that was I messed up so much by trying to rely on my brains and trying to say, oh, I can figure this out, rather than saying, who out there has already solved this problem? Let me just look it up and do what they did. And I think if I had tried not to be so smart and original and creative and such a problem solver and just said, well, what is working for others? Let me do the same thing. I actually would have done a lot better.
Why do you do what you do, Dave?
So my online business really is there not because of any great love for the product or what I'm bringing to the world. It's really there to support the rest of my life. So I sell cabinet knobs online. If there was one less cabinet knob retailer out in the world, I'm sure like nobody would notice the difference, the loss at all. If people had, didn't have 50,000 cabinet knobs to choose from, and they could only go to their local store and choose from 200, everyone would get by just fine. But so it's not the knobs business that I feel like is really fueling what I'm doing. It's this idea that I wanted to live a much more holistic life. I wanted to start a family and actually get to see them. I started writing books, and I'm now completing my 4th novel, and that became a much more exciting area for me. I feel like I try to teach things through my book. So each one of my novels goes into a different area and teaches different aspects of life. And I feel like that's more I'm making my contribution. But my online business is such a valuable part of my life because it has funded all of that for 16 years. So it really allowed me to make a living without having to work incredibly hard. Like, to me, the most incredible thing is that I'm able to make sales to people I've never met, who live halfway across the world from me, who buy products from me while I'm asleep, and I can wake up and see how much money has come in that period of time. I mean, the online world is a total miracle in that regard.
In all other products, why knobs?
So I will not say that I figured out that knobs would be a good business for me. Like I said, sometimes you can try to be too smart. I never really thought of selling knobs. What I did start selling, however, was kitchen cabinets at a certain point. And my cabinets didn't come with knobs. And so first I just added a handful of knobs to to supplement my cabinets so that, my cabinet customers had knobs that they needed. But in the end, I found it to be a much better business than the cabinet business. Cabinets are so bulky to ship. They're all kinds of issues and can break in shipping and all of that. And knobs were just a much easier product. They were lighter. They could be shipped anywhere. They didn't tend to break during shipment. And I soon found that my knob business, even though it was just there to supplement my cabinet business, became both more lucrative and much more hassle-free than the cabinet business. So I just decided, you know what, throw away the cabinet business. And I eventually threw away all my other businesses too. I had a patio furniture business and a lighting business. And I decided, you know what, knobs are the kind of the easiest product I sold. And I wanted my business to be easy. So I just stuck with the knobs.
Wow. Let's put him aside. How do you know you are successful?
To me, if I'm able to make enough on my online business to live and fuel all of my other ventures, then I'm successful in my online business. That's really, I'm not looking for more from that. I'm not looking to be number one in the space. I'm not looking to be cutting edge and do things that nobody else is doing. I'm really just looking to support myself and my family from this online business. And in that regard, if I do that, and if I am able to pay my bills to the online business, that is success in there. That, of course, fuels my time to be spent on other areas. And, for instance, if I've spent my time writing my books and nobody reads it, that doesn't feel very successful to me. So I guess different areas of my life have different criteria on what it takes to be successful. But on the online business specifically, if it covers my cost of living and allows me to devote my time to things that are much more my passions, then I'm successful online.
Can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
There's definitely an entrepreneur personality. And, it always kind of shocked me, actually. When I first started out and I was actually making a lot more in the early years than I'm making now, but I'd hire people to help me run this business, and they'd play such valuable roles in the business to me, but they were making so much less than I was making as employees rather than the owner. And I kept wondering, why aren't they quitting and doing this for themselves? Why are they taking, a small amount of money for doing this and watching me get several times more than they were getting, even though they were working harder than I was? I kept expecting them to say, thanks, Dave, I appreciate the job. I appreciate you teaching me how to run this business. Now I'm going to go do it on my own and start competing with you. But none ever did. And I started to realize there's just different mentalities. Some people want to just know that it's somebody else's problem. Someone else is coming up with the solution. Somebody else is taking the risk. At times when my business was losing money, these people still got paid. They still went home at their end of their shift and could forget about the business entirely. They went on vacation. They didn't have to think about the business. Me, I never stopped thinking about the business. I only work on it like an hour a day, but it's always on the back burner. I'm always thinking of it. And if the business does poorly, the risk is on me. And not everybody wants that. I found most of the people who've worked for me over the years, I tried to hire people who I thought were entrepreneurial, and I thought that was a good idea. And since then, I've gone away from that. I look for people who are really very happy being employees, and they want none of being an entrepreneur. And I think it's a really good marriage when an entrepreneur like myself is able to hire people who want something totally different, who want to be strong employees, and that's what they aspire to. And if I push these people to open their own businesses, I think most of them would fail.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
Oh, so much. I've learned that you can really create something incredible for yourself. I've learned that too often we tend to think about, okay, what are my different options? If I choose option A, it's going to have these negatives. If I choose option B, it's going to have these negatives. And we tend to only look at a few different options. Whereas for me, business was always about saying, okay, what are all of the things I need to have in my life? And can I then create a business that will fill that will work around that? And I've really been able to do so. I wanted a business that would allow me to work just a very short period of time, an hour per day. And I was able to create that. I wanted a business that would allow me to work in English, even though And I'm actually living right now in Jerusalem, which is obviously a Hebrew-speaking place. I wanted a business that would allow me to work remotely in the United States, that I can do. A business I could run from anywhere, because I do go from here to there. I go to different places, and so it's kind of thinking about like what are all the different things you want from business, and then creating business to fit that. Because really, business has just so much opportunity, and there's so much possibility for somebody to be making money. There's so many different areas out there. So I always say, like, first figure out what you want your life to look like first, and then say what business model is going to fit that, rather than saying, oh, here's a business I can do that would allow me to support myself, but it comes with all these negatives. Oh, well, I guess I just have to suck it up and deal with that.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Ooh, there's so many things.
Mhm.
I'm going to go out there and say my laziness is one thing that's contributed a lot to my success. And it's something that I want to leave people with as a message, because I think we tend to think that sometimes working harder is actually the way to do more. In fact, in my business, the times that I felt the business was really struggling and I had to throw myself in, or I decided, you know what, I want to take the business to the next level, I'm going to throw myself in and work harder, the business has actually done worse, not better, as a result of all this work. And I usually wound up creating work for a ton of more people and hiring more people, when I've really just said, okay, the business is there to allow me a very easy lifestyle. How can I make the business be as not hard as possible? How can I make it be as easy for me as possible? That's when I found the best solutions. Not the times when I've said, okay, wow, I can make this business so much higher if I just do X, Y, and Z, and I'd throw myself into it, and they'd always be harder than I expected them to be, and the results would always be less than I expected. So laziness is one answer I think most people do not give to that question, but I think it's actually helped me succeed tremendously.
What is one thing no one knows about you?
Well, it's a trick question, because it's got to be one thing that nobody knows about me, and I want people to know about me, because as soon as I tell you, everybody's going to know. One thing that actually a lot of people do know about me, but most people don't know about me in a business context, is the other side of my life. You know, when people look at my business and my business profile, they see, a businessman. They don't see that I'm also an Orthodox rabbi living in Jerusalem, Israel, who's also an author. There's all these aspects of my life that are very, very distinct from my public business life.
Okay, you said yes, you are an author. The Knobs company, it is successful. Then why you now again focusing on being an author? Where do you get the time anyway to focus on two jobs?
Well, like I said, the knobs business takes me about an hour a day. So that is, and in fact, usually not even that much. So really my day is wide open to write or do other things. And writing is much more where I feel like I want to be contributing to the world. And the books I write aren't just simply entertaining, though I hope they're that, but each one is teaching something. For instance, next week, I don't know when this podcast is airing, but the day we're recording, it's a week from the day that I'm launching my fourth book, which is called The Cash Machine. And this book is a novel, but through the novel, it teaches hundreds of different financial lessons. So that somebody who is, starting out like I was 20, 25 years ago, like I wish I had these lessons. I wish I understood money as well as I do now. And this book is actually it's a love story. And through the story of this couple, you learn hundreds of different lessons about how to save money, how to invest money, how to tax strategies. And these are all things that I learned because I needed them in my life, because I was struggling financially at some point. And so I went and learned, and then I wrote them into a novel so that other people can learn them in a very easy to digest way. So to me, the novels are very much more where I want to be contributing. I don't think of it as a job. It barely pays anything. All of my money comes from knobs. None of it comes from the novels. But it's much more of a passion to me than knobs.
Why did you take that route of teaching people how to save money? You call it a cash machine novel, through the romantic love story side. Why make you do that?
Yeah, everybody thinks it's very strange that a money book is also a love story, but to me it's very, very natural. And the reason why I say that is because money is just one of the biggest issues in relationships. And we don't tend to think about it when we're dating or when we're younger, but for married couples, money issues are one of the leading causes of divorce. And of course, even those couples that don't wind up getting divorced still often have money as a very large stress in their relationship. And I don't tend to think so much that it's because of lack of money as much as it is of differing philosophies of money. When I grew up, money was a topic that was just not supposed to be talked about in polite conversation. You didn't go up to somebody and ask them how much they made. That was considered to be very rude. Because it was a taboo subject, I was used to not speaking about it. And when I got older and suddenly it made sense to be speaking about it to my wife and to other people who could advise me, I still didn't have the language to speak about it. And I think that, my wife and I, we thought we were on the same page about money issues more than we were. We just didn't even have the vocabulary to have the discussion. We didn't know what our goals should be, so we didn't really have financial goals. We kept trying to please the other by making really stupid choices or things that didn't feel right to us. And money for us was a tension point in our marriage when things weren't going well and when we had different choices about how we should be spending money. So that's why I think this book came out as a love story. I actually wrote it together with my wife. And through this relationship, you're able to see all of these money issues. And I'm hoping that this book will allow couples to actually be speaking about money in a way where they can really get on the same page, where money doesn't have to be this barrier to their relationships, where they can really have one philosophy and one set of goals and together choose how they're going to be spending their money, how they're earning their money, how they're investing their money. So that's why it's a love story, because I think really money is one of the key triggers in relationships, and that often makes relationships go sour.
So you just wrote this one for couples, nothing for singles out there.
Oh no, this is.
Can the single people use it?
This is definitely not written for couples only.
Mm-hmm.
This is a book with the main character, Amber, is a single woman, and she, as she's debating whether to get back together with her ex-boyfriend Dylan, she realizes that Dylan has made some very unconventional financial choices in his life. And she's unsure if she could handle being married to him with this very different lifestyle that he's chosen. And so she decides that, for her to understand, before she can decide whether she wants to make a life with this guy, she needs to decide, well, what are all these weird financial choices he's made? She wants to understand them, and she wants to see if she could handle that type of lifestyle too. So she asks him to help her build her own cash machine. Teach her all of these financial lessons so that she can try them out, she can learn them, and she can implement them in her life and see if she can handle marrying this guy. But it's definitely not a book that is all about couples and money. There are definitely nonfiction books that are about couples and money and how couples should handle money. This is a novel. It's a story. It's got a lot of tension. It's got a lot of humor. It's going to be anybody who wants to be working on their own financial position, I think, will have a lot more fun reading this book than most of the other nonfiction books out there that, in a very dry way take you through all these money issues. This one, you get all the money issues while being sucked into a story.
Thank you for sharing. So do you ever have a mentor or a coach in your business?
So, that is a really phenomenal question. And I think if I had coaches and had mentors and turned to people, I would have been in such better shape than I actually was. I think when I started off, I think I had this very mistaken belief that I could figure things out and that asking for help was a sign of weakness. And I did a lot of really stupid things because I didn't understand business fundamentals. So no, I did not have a mentor or a coach, and I highly, highly recommend new entrepreneurs get one.
Do you have one now?
I don't specifically have one now. I've had a number of coaches over the years, and I've attended a lot of seminars, and I've worked with quite a few people, read a ton of books, but I don't currently at this moment have a mentor or a coach. Like I said, at this point, I'm not actively trying to grow my business. I'm trying to just really keep it fairly status quo and continuing to support myself through it. That means I still have to do things to change things around, but every time I want to working with a coach, it's at a time when I want to put more energy into the business. At this point, I'm trying to put more energy into launching my novels.
Do you have a coach in writing your novels?
I probably should for that too. I don't, but what I do have is every book I've written with a co-author.
Okay.
So I like that process. I like the process of working with somebody to create a product. So for writing, editors are obviously great for that. There are usually fewer coaches for writing than there are editors, but because I've always worked with a co-author, that back and forth process with the co-author has been very similar to that with an editor. There are times I've worked with a co-author and an editor. On this particular book, I did not have an editor or a coach.
What is the most valuable thing I've learned from working with your co-authors?
To me, it's just that there's something really valuable about talking ideas out and strategizing together. And that's what I really enjoy. Every book that I've written so far, I've been the main author. But having somebody to bump ideas off of and just brainstorming is a way that I like to work. And so that's been a great aspect to me of having a co-author. Is there somebody I can really work things out with?
What is the most valuable thing you have ever given away?
I guess expertise. Love. I don't think I've ever given away anything that I can recall of like material value, but I've often coached people, mentored people, given a lot of advice, given a lot of guidance.
Let's talk about your company, Knobs.
Okay.
Tell us more about it.
So the main website is knobs.co, knobs.co, and we sell over 50,000 different knobs from probably about 30 different manufacturers, and it's mostly sold in the U.S. One thing that's important to know on it is that the vast majority of knobs, I am selling the exact same products as all of my competitors at the exact same prices. I'm not a manufacturer, so I don't get any preferential. I get the same pricing that they get, if I'm lucky to get that. And most of the products that we sell, the pricing is actually set not by the sellers, but by the manufacturers. So the manufacturers tell us what we're allowed to charge, or they tell us what the least amount we're allowed to charge is. So everybody in my sector, we're selling the same products at the same prices. So people often ask, how do you then gain a competitive advantage? And for me, one, to a certain degree, there's not a huge competitive advantage because my competitors offer very similar things. But I've really tried to make where we stand out with the quality of the staff and the quality of the service that we offer. If you go onto an Amazon, they try to make it as hard as possible to access their customer service, and they have very little expertise about the products that they sell. They just want you to go on there and shop without having to talk to anybody. We actively try to get people into dialogue. We actually try to give people free design consultations or, a lot more work. And we will work very closely with our customers to make sure that they get exactly what they're looking for. And that's really where we're able to differentiate ourselves.
Where do we find your products, and also where do we find the book once it is launched, and how can we connect with you?
So Amazon is the best place for finding the books. The Cash Machine is the name of the book that's coming out next week. It is already on Amazon for pre-order, and it's the other books are The Size of Your Dreams. That's a novel that kind of teaches you how to be more productive in your life. That one's set in a high school classroom. And then I've got a series of biblical fiction books set in the times of the prophet Elijah, and those will really give you much more of a spiritual grounding in ancient Israel and much more understanding of what was going on with the world of idolatry and the different kings and the different battles of the days. And you can find all of them on Amazon.com. Two of them right now are free downloads. The Size of Your Dreams and a book called The Lamp of Darkness are free downloads if people want to try it for nothing. And the Cash Machine I've made it pretty dirt cheap for its initial launch period because I want people to be able to get this and access it and actually see the improvements in their lives.
How can we contact you?
You can, I guess it depends where you want to follow me. So if you want to my different books have various pages on Facebook, and knobs.co has a page on Facebook. You can connect to all of those places. But for the most part, I try to keep connections to a minimum. that's part again of keeping the business as a very side thing of really freeing up a lot of my time. I don't do a lot of interactions personally with customers or sometimes with readers of my books. I'm more likely to interact with readers of my books.
So, Clan, there will be more from Dave in a moment. If you are listening on one of the many podcasting platforms rather than my website and you are encouraged by Dave's journey, go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for a bonus portion of the interview. The Online Success Journey is a wonderful membership community built for people searching for the path to success. We are one big clan and you can be part of this community for free. Once you have joined the clan, click on part 2 of Dave's journey or over 200 plus other journeys that are available and learn how you can find the right path for your own online success journey. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Dave.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.